Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Dennis Stockman, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Captain Nicole Curtis. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Stanley Patron Pike. Stanley Pike was born in 1894 to William and Eliza Pike of Broken Hill. His father was a coachman employed to take managers to and from the proprietary mine. Stanley attended the North Broken Hill Public School. In 1900, Stanley's parents divorced due to infidelity by his mother, and his father took custody. While both his parents remarried shortly afterwards, Elizabeth's new husband continued threatening behaviour towards Pike's father for some time. Stanley Pike went to work at the Broken Hill proprietary mine when he was about 14 years old. 6 years later, war broke out, and within weeks he enlisted to serve in the Australian Imperial Force. Pike underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service overseas with reinforcements to the 10th Battalion in February 1915. Pike's health suffered during his time on the Gallipoli Peninsula, and he was evacuated a number of times. He later told people that he had been on the troop ship Southland when it was torpedoed in the Mediterranean, clinging to a piece of wood in the sea for 6 hours before rescue. After this, Pike returned to the peninsula at least twice before the evacuation in December 1915. Shortly after his return to Egypt, Private Pike was hospitalised with acute alcoholism. He seems to have recovered and was transferred to the 50th Battalion with the reorganisation of the AIF. A few days later, he was transferred to the 13th Machine Gun Company. After further training in the desert, Pike was sent to France to fight on the Western Front. For the next 12 months, he remained with his company with few problems. In fact, Pike proved an able soldier, and in April 1917, he was promoted to Lance Corporal and a month later to Corporal. In September 1917, the 13th Machine Gun Company entered gun positions in support of an Australian attack on Polygon Wood near Ypres. Sergeant Pike was probably on a crew of one of the 8 guns that went forward in close support to the attacking battalions. At some point during the attack, he was wounded and evacuated to a nearby casualty clearing station where he died. Today he is buried at Leesentoke Military Cemetery. William Pike put a memorial notice in the local newspaper on the first anniversary of his only son's death. It read, "Sleep on, heroic soul. A braver heart than thine ne'er beat within the human breast. Sleep on and take thy rest." Stanley Pike was 23 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Stanley Patron Pike, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and good evening.